The son becomes the father the son. This is all I can send you, Kal-El. It's not who I am underneath that defines me, but what I do.
This is the latest out of UK. Right. So UK publishers and literary agents reportedly uninterested in working with white or straight writers. BIPOC, which is racist, queer, and minority groups are always the most welcome, is their thing. What is it? Biracial people of color, which is a racist term. All right. Dehumanizing individualism.
Well, nothing like combating racism with more racism.
100%. So I want to show you this thing. This comes from Bounding into Comics, but the way I got to that was from how I learned about it was just as early on this morning while I'm brushing my teeth to get ready for this. Put on podcast on YouTube and Clownfish TV. So not to Clownfish TV for talking about them, but do check out their experiences with this thing. And what they talk about, because they were part, 2015, they had that happen to them as two white couple, a couple of white, married couple, and how they were basically pushed out of it, getting their books made because they were white, right? And so they talk about their experiences and amongst other things. So that's worth watching, checking in there as well. But to get a what am I trying to say? To get a in-depth thing about this from another, from personal experiences. So according to a new report, a number of UK-based publishers and literary agents have taken to publicly announcing that rather than any white, and by the way, Greg Rucker is white, and he's the one I first thought about suggesting as a Wolverine writer, because he has written Wolverine and knows how to do it. And, and he sold me on being a Batman fan, which cost me a lot of money, just because of that one book he did, but I'm a fan of his other stuff as well. But, and this is why merit matters, not color, not race or ethnicity. Merit matters, right? How good are you? So, yeah. And then goes on to, okay, publicly announcing that rather than any white or straight authors, now you're like, going against person's sexualities. Okay. Reverse that. Reverse it. Think about that when you're reversing that, right? No black people or gay people. See how racist that sounds? Yeah. They would almost exclusively prefer to work with those who come from underrepresented demographics groups, right? So this information was first brought to public attention by UK news outlet The Telegraph, whose investigation into the matter identified 4 publishing houses. So these are the major ones, right? Right. So publishing houses, there's only a handful of that are actually out the top. And all the offshoots of them are what, filters to the top through them. Okay. So anyway, whose investigation into the matters identified 4 publishing houses whose public-facing materials promoted this rhetoric, right? This racist rhetoric. One such publisher was S Literary, the children's book specialist, perhaps best known for producing the Marv series, who on submission section of their website, official website, informed prospective writers that we are actively seeking voices that have historically been underrepresented, particularly with tropes that are often said to be overdone. Right? So human interest, stories that everybody loves. That's why it's overdone, because people love those stories. Right? For example, we're not interested in stories about white, able-bodied World War II evacuees, but would welcome that story from a disabled LGBTIQIA alphabetical, all the run.
And a partridge in a pear tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And an alien from Mars. Yeah. Or biracial, right? Intergender, whatever, person of color, whatever you want to call it, right? You just can't be one thing anymore, right? You got to be everything, and that's how you get the contracts. You got to be everything. Tick the boxes, buddies. All right? They add it. If your book is about an identity that is not yours, we will not be good. So guess what? If you're a straight dude, You cannot write a story about a lesbian couple, right? Even if your lead character is a lesbian. No. And if you're an Asian, you can't write about a white person. Oh, but that's no.
No, you can.
No. You can.
If you're Asian, you can. If you're a minority, you can write about anything.
That's what I was going. That's what I was going to switch that on.
It's my demographic that can't write about anything other than my demographic.
Exactly.
You know? But I can't write about.
But you got to.
I can't write about slavery either. I can't write about slave owners because that'll be the wrong side of view. That would be the wrong point of view. I can't write about that. The only thing I can write about is apparently I can only write about bad guys, that are anti-wokeness, in which which is so ridiculous. This whole rhetoric is destroying the entertainment industry. Yep. I watched several interviews the other day where they went up to random people in New York 20 years ago, man. Yep. They asked like, so what do you think about a black guy? He's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Why do I care? We were less racist 20 years ago than we are now. And then this kind of junk, right here, it puts people that are on the fence of joining one of those groups, those really bad groups, the people that are loners, that are easily manipulated, that want to fit in with something. It pushes those people into the hate groups, and they don't realize it. Have you ever seen that movie? John Singleton hit it great with in the 1995 movie. Oh shoot, man! Oh crud! I just had the name of the movie. Basically, they show there's a kid that's kind of on the outskirts of everybody. Everybody just kind of makes fun of him, or kind of doesn't bother him because he's a white kid from a farm. Nobody really accepts him. But the white power group accepts him, and then he goes on and climbs a tower and starts shooting people. Shoot, what's the name of the movie? I remember seeing it. It was powerful. It was a powerful movie. Let me look it up real quick. It was what was the movie he did? Oh my goodness. Higher Learning. Yeah. Watch that movie. It really kind of embraces some of the stuff that we're going through right now. And it makes it doesn't make a good picture for everybody, by going this way. Do I think people need to be proud of their heritage? Of course I do. But do I need people to be proud of their heritage at the detriment of me? No. That's wrong. So I'll have to get off my soapbox now. Sorry.
Hey, I got a question I want to ask you all. How many people came here to change the world?
Welcome to the real world. So they got you running for the school. And if you don't run, you don't get no tuition, right?
That's the way the system goes.
Where are you from? Orange County. Is that near Compton? It's near Disneyland.
It's different here than I thought it was going to be,
Hey, man.
Seems like everybody's sticking to their own.
They came to Columbus University to get an education.
Me and my buddies, we were going to go get a drink. Do you want to come along?
It's not really safe to walk around campus by yourself at night.
But now,
Let's see your ID.
Now let us see your ID.
they're getting a taste of the real world
Where are we going?
We're going to my house.
Billy!
firsthand.
Are you having problems here at Columbus? Well, these fools be tripping when they see a black face.
You're dead. There are many ways to fight a battle. Some people use their mind. Some people use their fists. What are you going to do, college boy?
One's primary purpose at university level should be to learn how to think. Without struggle, there is no progress.
A new film by John Singleton, Higher Learning, from Columbia TriStar Home Video.
It's been a while. I can't remember if I watched it, but usually I was, what year did it come out in? So
95. Came out in 95.
It would have been, yeah, I think it would.
See it.
Yeah, that would be just after I moved from like living in Auckland. So that would have been here. So usually, the reason I mean it's been that time because when I was living in Auckland, which is the city when I went to when I was a teenager and grew up in, and then became, what was it like? I think from like being 18, from 17, or 17, I turned. Oh no, 16, I turned to 23. So those formative years. So every week I was watching about 6 or 7 videos, VHS videotapes from my, from my little video shop,
Right.
high shop, whatever. And I'd be watching to a point where I'd watched everything in that store. So this is 95, which is like about a year or two after I'd moved. So I wasn't doing that anymore. But, one of the things that people might forget about, if I remember right, about John Singleton is that he's British, right? Is that right?
Was he British? I don't remember him being British.
It was someone else who did it. Oh no, he's not British. It was somebody else who did a. Oh, gosh, I can't remember who it was that that they were British, but they were writing stories about about the ghetto and about black people and stuff, and what they thought about it. But I think John Singleton, as well as who's the one who did like not Friday. There's another one that came out at the same time. Hot, something hot. It was a hot. They do it like oh man, I can't remember, but it was a story. It was another movie about like Brooklyn, right? And like there's a pizzeria owned by a couple of Irish guys or Italians, and they and it's about this young couple and a guy and a black kid who works in the pizzeria, but he starts breaking it down because it's so there's racism that's happening that like he's going, well, what's why are you behaving like this? What's that got to do with me and you? And so it's affecting everyone. Why have you got your business here? It's like, but if I don't have my business here, how are you going to get paid? That kind of thing. It's like, where are you going to work? Who's going to employ you? So yeah, so I think that's check that out. Good suggestion, movie wise. Yeah. And actual on topic.
Yeah, but, I mean, and that's the dangers of, pushing one group away. I mean, these people would be. I'd have a lot more respect if they'd say, "Hey, we accept stories from everybody."
Right. Which they used
to.
Right?
I don't even think I don't even think that publishing company should have to justify themselves saying that.
Yeah,
it should just be it should be a no-brainer. Yeah. Whoever you are, we're gonna accept. We're gonna as long as your story is good. Yeah, we're gonna take it in.
Can we sell it? Are people interested? You know. And
my
this
goodness,
is why.
I mean, I hope the person that writes the next
Harry Potter.
No. Hold on just a second. Martin Luther King Jr. story was actually Martin Luther King, because that's the only person that can credibly write his story, according to the way that these people are wanting to take in stories.
Yeah, you probably just put up chat GPT, write a book about Martin Luther King as Martin Luther King, using all his words, from the ever published or ever spoken, and that's how you do it. So a machine would do it. That's the only, and that machine you can put a fake name to, right? Or even, they've done it, like they've faked people's names and taken people's books now anyway with Amazon. You can name yourself as Stephen King and use GPT if your name isn't copyrighted, right, or whatever, and Amazon will sell it. They don't care. So that's the other side. That's why I push for indie comics, people. That's why I promote them. That's why I promote people, just do your own thing. You don't need to be part of these big, houses who will just turn off the switch on the, as soon as somebody says, we don't want these people to do these books anymore about these people, and I think races are so, the weird thing here is, like, if your book is about an identity that is not yours, we will not be a good fit. Oh, so you're a racist. We don't like you. Yeah. So this includes books based on the experience of family members. So if you have like me, right? So if you use the same form, if I wanted to research a book about my granddad who's white, right? Who was a minesweeper, and I mentioned this the other day, who was a minesweeper in World War II, right? And he got frostbite. And minesweepers are the guys who are out there with a broom handle, right, pushing away big mines laid down by the U-boats, U-40, UB-40 boats, whatever they call them, I don't know, by the Germans, right, laid out into the English channel, right, to go so they could get supply ships and resources and artillery into Europe. So that the mines would stop them and blow up all the ships going through. So my granddad happened to be one of those people who would be out there pushing them away, to make way for the ships to get the resources to the people that are needed, to help in the war. Now, we cannot accept white people doing that. Yeah, I was like, we cannot accept my dad writing about his dad to tell you that story because he's white. And this is what they're saying, even it's their family members, right? And I think this is disgusting, and it should be called out as racist, because if you don't call this out as racist, it'll empower those angry, short little voices out there to go, yes, do it more, and suddenly all the amazing stories that endear us to each other will not be there anymore. And those voices will be silenced. What if tomorrow they go, no black peoples, right? The day after, they go, no Asians anymore. And then they go, no gays. Remember see how that works when they start going no? It keeps getting, it's a what is it called? Like
snowball.
That's it. Down a mountain,
snowball
right?
Effect.
Yeah. And, these people, they don't see that. And it's sad. It's sad.
They just don't see
just so sad. You would never have Lord of the Rings. You'd never have Stephen King, right?
Nope.
No Michael Crichton, right? Therefore, no J.J.R. Martin, no Game of Thrones. All these wonderful things you enjoy, these people want those authors to be stopped. No J.K. Rowling's, right? So yeah, no richest woman in the world who gave, wrote a story for a little boy, solo mom, who went from poverty, right, to being the richest woman in the world because she wrote a story.
Right.
And what if they said no woman, no white woman? Yeah. And she had the luck of the draw because they actually threw her book in the rubbish bin and somebody read it, picked it up. the assistant, whatever, receptionist, whatever. And, it's sad. I just found this really sad, because what if I was born white? And this is what people don't want to put themselves into other people's shoes. And they think there's only one narrative out there, and that's what we should follow. And that's racist narrative.
The whole narrative would be about how much your life is so much better than everybody else's, and they don't realize that they're literally putting their own race down by saying things like that.
That's what really is weird.
We're always struggling to get ahead. And it's like, well, we struggle too, guys. It's just so ridiculous, man. It is so ridiculous. And if you look at the history, it's when a lot of handouts and a lot of these programs of inclusive, intended to be inclusive, right?
Yeah.
Social programs such as food stamps, also affirmative action, things like that the denigration of minorities' families began to happen.
Yeah. Because you make them rely on the government and not on their own merit, like helping them help themselves.
And I'm not saying this is for I'm not saying every minority group is like that. I'm not saying that every person that is in these minority groups is like that. Just like every person that has white skin isn't a racist.
Yeah.
Let's get it right, guys.
Yeah. I think most of the time I've met the racists I've met are like kind of like my color. Different version, lighter, darker to my skin color. They're usually the ones that are racist towards each other. And more racist to you, that I found for me, more racist towards me. So this is how they wrap up their racism, right? So to this end, a publisher further notes that the main focus, right, is to represent writers who are underrepresented in mainstream publishing. Here's the thing, guys. Go and do it yourself, right? You don't need a publisher telling you how good your book is. The audience, the reader will tell you, right? You set it up. We have the internet now. You can get online here like me, and you can read your story out, a chapter at a time, whatever, over a couple months, a little bit of time, and go here, read a couple paragraphs and go, you can buy the chapter here.
I want to read this. I want to read this so that it can be as impactful as in what they're saying. This is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. This is straight up racism.
Yep.
To this end, the publisher further notes that the main focus of the TGLA is to represent writers who are underrepresented in mainstream publishing. That's admirable. Great. Awesome. That's good. Okay. Eligibility is based on the author, not the material or subject matter of the work they are submitting.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how good your story is. It doesn't matter how good your work is. It's based on your ethnicity, your skin color, your sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely bullcrap. Okay.
Yeah.
Not on the subject matter that you are submitting. Unfortunately, if you yourself are not eligible by the criteria listed in this first question above, we will be unable to proceed with your submission.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So they wrap it up, and they start off saying this is what we're doing, and then they tell you racism.
Yeah.
We are racist. We want to show you we're good people, but it's because of racism we're doing this, because your work is not of any value. It's actually who you are is value to us, because then we can say, like, here's the thing. I was just thinking about this morning because I was thinking about my parents, right? Because I'm trying to be a good son, right? Because I've done enough years of being a bad son. So one of the things for me is now to bring honor to my aging parents, right? Because you know, I want them to go out knowing that I have honored them the later years of my life. I've grown up, and you know, and so one of the things, like I remember in the 2000s when I actually realized how good my dad was, and how my, you know, and I mean, like, he's my stepfather, right? But he's my only father I've ever known for about close to about 42 odd years now. And so he's my dad. So when I around about 2000s, and I was really thinking about how good he was, I was actually going to change my surname to his name. That's how I felt about it. And I didn't end up doing it because I didn't have the money at the time. And, you know, I was just busy and just distraction. But now it's too late. But that's what I wanted to do, was to actually go change my name to a white guy's name, because my dad meant so much to me for doing so much for us. I finally realized at the age of, I think it was about 30, that he was a brilliant man and that he deserved my name. You know, that I would honor him by changing my own surname to his, because, you know, and I think this is what people don't realize when you wrap shit up in racism and about ethnicity and stuff, that you take away people's identity and you take away their hard work, their merits, their life, right? Their history, you know, what makes them who they are, because not everything is willing, you know, is great all the time for just because they're certain race or certain color. You know, imagine being, you know, telling someone in China, we do not accept any more Chinese writers. So by that merit, anybody with a Z name, right, will be excluded and stuff like that. So, you know, that's what I always say. Like, think of it, if you change the wording to fit other wording. So if it says white, change it to black. If it says straight, change it to gay. You know what?
I think a great practice would be to name all the great literature artists that wouldn't be allowed in this group.
Yeah.
Shakespeare, not allowed.
Yep.
Mark Twain, not allowed. You know, I'm sorry. My mind's
there's so many,
you know,
right?
Stephen King, not allowed.
There's
you know,
there's so many.
J.K. Rowling, not allowed.
What they will use, they will say, oh, that's because they're white, that's how they got it. No,
I mean, they were good writers.
She got in. She got in. The book was good, and then the world loved it. Right? If the book was crap, and this is what I say about merit, it's up to the reader and the audience who decides whether the book is good or not, right? And it's up, you know, it's like it's the customer who decides whether you have any value to them, or if your work has any value. And if you take away that part, all these black people, these gay people, all these Asians or whatever minority things, those books are never going to sell, because if they're based on identity and not the work itself, nobody's going to buy it. You know, nobody's going to really think it. They might put it on the shelf just because to have that token book in your house, right? They would never read it. I've done that in the past myself. I bought a book because I thought it was going to be a good book, and then I left it on the shelf, never read it. But then I bought one and gave it to my brother and said, oh, have you read this book? It's about this. I was like, didn't even bother reading it. I just had it on the shelf and I gave it to you. You know, it's about a biracial Indian person. And like, oh, doesn't matter to me. You know, doesn't bother, you know, it's just sitting there, you know, but I bought it, you know, and it's just the books that, you know, and here I am right now. And I was just thinking of just before when I was trying to move things around to get these things. I have a Clive Barker book there, which I read as a child. I mean, not as a child, as a teenager, right? In my 20s, 19s. And now I'm collecting all the Clive Barker books because I used to love them when I was younger. He's a white gay dude, right? Never knew that he was gay. They didn't bother me, didn't care. All I knew was a great artist. His horror work was amazing, and fell in love with Hellraiser.
Right.
Totally fell in love with Nightbreed. Bought all the books, bought the art books, bought the creature effects book with the all the design work, all the stuff. Now, if suddenly you said, well, guess what? He's gay. We're not going to have any gay writers. We only want straight writers. All that work is gone, right? And same thing with Stephen King. I got handed the entire Gunslinger series, which is about 11 or 12 of them, or 8, I think, from and hardcovers and everything from one of my our family friends who had passed away, and his wife said, Auntie Pram goes, "Hey, I've got all these Stephen King books. Are you interested?" Yeah. Now I've got a collection of those books. And why? Because they're great books. And I think Stephen King is falling into the same vein, like, and he's getting falling into this thing. Well, we got to give them up for these because we've all had our chances. Listen, it's the work, right? Why do we love Wolverine? Because of the character, not because he's white, not because he's Canadian. It's because of the character, what makes him who he is, right? And if you whittle that person down to just their skin color, it's empty, man. It's not worthy of anything. And I think people are just, it's like why we have such terrible Disney shows, because it has no soul to it. No. They just grab people and go, "Oh, you're that? You will work on this now." That's not how it works. Because where's your list of work? You worked on TV before? No. Well, you can't, because we want TV writers. You wrote a book, keep writing a book, and we'll start you up on this one, so you can work yourself to this one. We're not going to give you a $200 million movie if you've just done a short film, right? That's how merit builds up. You learn to work, build up your experience to become good. When you look at Clive Barker, he was writing books of blood, short stories, right? Before then, he moved on to novellas. Then he went into freaking novels because he was growing, And what was it, like 26 times Stephen King was declined? He didn't get in there because he's white. He was declined 26 times. Like, they just kept saying no, 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 no. Right? But he kept at it. Now, millionaire, right? Billionaire, I guess. But that's because people liked his work. When people got to read his work, they liked his work. Like Red Drum. Everybody knows what Red Drum. It even made into a freaking kids movie, right? Everybody knows, The Shining and stuff like that by Stanley Kubrick. I think we do a disservice to humanity itself and they go like, "Oh, America's racist." No, these people are racist, right? These people here, literally, those people are racist. People that have those jobs, they are racist at the top, who are white, by the way. Liberal white people are the racist ones, right? The ones who tell you that we're liberal, we welcome everybody, but they turn around and are racist. Like, Big Stu mentioned earlier, right? They hate themselves. They have this white guilt, right?
Right.
In themselves, that like they feel, you're not doing you're not doing any of those people you're listed there any service. You're doing a disservice to them by going, it's about your skin. You're taking everything away from them, but you're not even looking at their work.
It's appalling to me that we're in the year 2023 and we're still dealing with this shit.
Yeah.
And it's unnecessary. And we were past it. We were literally past it. We were so far past it. And now we've reverted back. And it wasn't, I didn't want it. I didn't want to revert back. I didn't want to do this.
It's so regressive, man, to do this stuff. It's like you're not helping anyone. You're taking away people's
Nope.
You know, yeah. It's sad. I just don't know. This is a link for it if you guys want to read it. But I just think it's really, really, really sad day where we come to,
it's sad and insulting and
yeah,
completely wrong. But that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and write a story anyway, because I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to identify as a woman.
Yep.
Do the story.
Well, you can. What would you call yourself, Stuart?
Me?
Stuart Data.
I'd call myself.
Sharon.
I identify as a Eastern European woman named Stuart. I'd be named Stuart like this, and I would always talk like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you have to do now to get anywhere ahead, because they won't take you as you are anymore, and on face value and on merit. So let's get to toys. We got 40 minutes or 30 minutes. We'll get to do some unboxings. I got a bunch of toys. You've got something to show as well.
I got two things to show today,
because it's getting, topics like those just make me depressed. I kind of, every time I think there's a hope for humanity, something like this just brings me down again. So please, no more. So thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Really appreciate you guys joining us. I mean, we covered a bunch of things. Who would love to see as the next Wolverine for the next 20 years? I think he'd be making Daniel Radcliffe would be awesome. Also racism and publishing, right? Which was kind of a downer after being so high up talking about Wolverine then coming right down because of racism and literature. And then we got our two toys out, and this is kind of the focus I want to go in for us, a kind of a format for us going forward. We get to talk about what's awesome about our entertainment industries, our collectabilities, our fandoms really, and pop culture. So thank you, Big Stu. Have a good night, mate, and wherever everybody else is, thank you so much for joining in for both of us. From Big Stu,
have a good one, guys. Hope to see you next time.
All right, goodbye, guys. See you next week.
All right, God bless.
1.21 gigawatts.
1.21 gigawatts. That is the name of my store. It's also the amount of electricity needed for time travel. And that's how you're going to feel when you step into my store. You're going to feel like you step back into 1985. My store is all about the comics, toys, and nostalgia. If you have that nostalgia itch that needs to be scratched, come to my store. It's on 601 North Main Street, Borger, Texas. Again, I am 1.21 gigawatts, comics, toys, and nostalgia. The greatest toy and comic shop in a 50-mile radius in the great panhandle of this great state of Texas.